Hey, what's up, guys? It's Cypher from SypherPK.com, and today I am bringing you the latest Magicka Nightblade build that I've been playing on. It's a dual-wield resto Magicka Nightblade with high damage and decent sustain that comes from the Lich armor set. So this is a very particular build. Some of you are not going to be able to afford to get Lich, but this is the build that I've been playing with. It's been very effective, so I just decided to upload this build out there. Now, I am going to upload a separate Destro Resto Magicka Nightblade build that won't be using Lich, so that's going to be a better option for people who can't afford the Lich set. But for the people who can, this is the video for you. Let's get right into it. I like to make my build videos very short and to the point. So let's just get started with the first bar. This is going to be our dual wield bar. We are running Sap Essence for extra spell damage, 20%, so major sorcery. And it also serves as a way to pull other Nightblades out of stealth and some decent AoE if you need it, especially for dodge rollers. If they are very low health and they start dodge rolling, you can hit them with a couple Sap Essence to finish them off. Concealed Weapon is going to be your main DPS, a lot of damage, and you can stun them from stealth. Lotus Fan for a gap closer. Fear for a CC, that's obviously going to be there. And we are using Shadowy Disguise for a guaranteed crit during our cloak. We're also using Soul Harvest because it's the magical morph of this ultimate for bursting people down, and we kind of use it as a finisher. 50 ultimate comes back really, really quickly, so it's pretty much like a 6 ability slot at this point. Resto Bar. Now here you have some flexibility. We are running, I'm going to start off from here. We are running Shadow Image. It's going to be very vital for your survivability. Healing Ward for just healing and extra shield. Double Take for extra movement speed and dodge chance. Crippling Grasp for range, DPS, plus an extra dot that's really strong. Now, Harness Magicka recently got buffed, so I find myself a lot tankier using Harness, especially against physical DPS opponents, because it acts like a ward, because it's going to give you physical and magical resistance. And this build runs really, really low magic recovery, so having an extra bit of Magicka return from Harness Magicka is pretty useful in my opinion. Now, over here you could put Mark Target, you could put Merciless Resolve. There's a few other options that you can place here instead of Harness. Swallow Soul if you wanted to get some extra range DPS, but I don't definitely recommend Swallow Soul for this build because your spell damage is going to be mainly on your dual wield bar. You won't be hitting that hard with Swallow Soul. Now for the ultimate, I'm using Shooting Star. The reason I like Shooting Star is because it gives you 12 ultimate for each enemy hit. So what you sometimes can do is if you time your Shooting Star with a potion, or if you hit multiple opponents, you can immediately get up a Soul Harvest. So you can literally drop a Shooting Star onto your opponents and instantly Soul Harvest them as they get hit with the Shooting Star, which is really powerful. But if you don't have Shooting Star, you could also put Soul Tether as an ultimate. Now, let's get into the armor sets really quickly. We're running 5-piece Lich. 5-piece Lich comes in very specific armor set, positions. So you have the helmet, shoulder, gloves, robe, and the staff. Again, these are very expensive pieces. I'm not sure what the up-to-date prices are. You can farm these by doing dolmens, or you can buy them from other players who have them. I'm pretty sure the most expensive set piece is the staff. I could be wrong. We're also running Julianos. Now we have the Undaunted passive at rank 9, so we're running medium boots and heavy legs. So you get the 6% extra max magicka. We're also running 3 pieces of willpower, 2 pieces of swords of Julianos. Now these are Nirnhoned right now, but I'm actually going to get these recrafted to sharpen, because sharpen is going to give you overall more damage in my opinion. And we're going to get, instead of disease damage on the glyph, you're going to want to get the extra spell power and weapon power glyphs for your swords. So these things are going to be changed because of the new updates that have happened. Nirnhoned, in my opinion, is no longer the best pick for most weapons, for both Magicka and Stamina. It could be the best pick in PvE. You could go 1 Nirnhoned, 1 Sharpen, but for me personally, I'm just going to be going 2 Sharpen. The staff comes in its own unique traits and whatever, but on the back bar, I'm having Poison. Increase the cost of your victim's magic abilities by 60% for 10 seconds. Preferably, the poison you want to use here to most effectively piss off your opponents is increase the cost of your victim's magicka and stamina abilities for 60% for 6.5 seconds, which is long enough for you to take full advantage of that. So it affects both magicka and stamina users. So that's the poison you typically want to use on your back bar with the staff. So that's it for the armor sets. I have all spell damage, by the way, on my jewelry and all arcane. I am an Imperial, so this is not the best race for this build. In my opinion, Breton or High Elf will give you a better option. If I had to pick one, it would be High Elf, but there are also benefits to Breton, and some people argue back and forth. I just pick High Elf because I could go Destro if I needed to more effectively, in my opinion. So I have all my points into Magicka. On my front bar, I have 38.8k Magicka, and I have 39.5k on my back bar because of the Mage's Guild passes. 1255 recovery. Now this boosts up really high when you your Lich procs, probably over 3k, 3.5k, around that number range. So Lich is going to be your main source of sustain, which is why the Lich is very important for this build. Because if you're not using Lich, for example, if you're using like 5 Magnus or 4 Magnus and then like a Maelstrom Resto, you're not going to have the recovery to sustain with this build. You're going to have to sacrifice damage for recovery. 25.5k health because we're Imperial, 15.6k stamina. I am using tri-stat food. I like to have the extra bit of stamina on this build to dodge, roll, and block when necessary. The spell damage is 2784. That is unbuffed, completely unbuffed. Now with Cloak, or while in stealth, that's going to go up to 3k. And with a spell damage boost, that goes up to 3.619. And with a light attack with a spell damage weapon glyph, that'll go to a little bit over 4k, I think 4050. So you can have about 4k fully buffed spell damage with this build once it's completely set up. We are using the Shadow Mundus. Again, if you don't have Lich and you do want to run this build, I advise you not to use the Shadow and just to switch to Atchnok. And instead of running Lich, you can run 5 Seducer, 5 Magnus, whatever 5-piece set you want to run instead. But, just switch off the Shadow from the Atchnok. You do have 42.3% spell critical. That's without Mage Light. You could run Mage Light if you wanted to, but you would have to sacrifice a certain ability. I don't know which one, to be honest with you. I like all the abilities I have. I wouldn't want to sacrifice them, but 42.3% is enough to take advantage of the Shadow extra critical strike damage. But on top of that, our Cloak is giving us guaranteed crits. So if you Cloak, into a concealed weapon or Soul Harvest, you're getting a guaranteed crit that's going to be boosted from the Shadow Mundus. Again, we're using tri-stat food buffs to increase our max Magicka, max health, and max stamina. Let's go into the champion points. Start with the tower. We have 75 points into the Magician, 75 into the Arcanist. The reason I put 75 into the Arcanist, because even though you don't get as much of an advantage when your Lich set isn't procced, you do get a decent advantage once it's actually procced. The 75 actually boosts that number by quite a bit. And pretty much your Lich set is going to be procced 1/3 of the fight because it lasts for 20 seconds and it is on a 1-minute cooldown. So 1/3 of the fight you're going to have advantage of that Lich set. 17 into Tumbling, 10 into Blessed, 65 into Elfborn, 92 into Elemental Expert, nothing into Spell Erosion, nothing here because you're not really using weapon attacks, and over here you could actually put some points into Thaumaturge to increase your maybe heavy restos and your dot with what do you call the ability? Crippling Grasp. Now that's an option you could do, but to be honest with you, it's only one dot that you're really using with this build, and maybe your Ice Comment dot. It's not really enough to warrant putting that many points into there, and these also boosts the dots anyway, so I wouldn't put anything into here. Now when I do make the Destro Resto Nightblade build, that one's going to require a little bit more effort onto the dots, and we will be putting more into Thaumaturge. 15 to Resistance, 15 to Hardy, 15 to Elemental Defender, pretty even split right there. 15 into Thick Skinned, 2 into Quick Recovery. So that's pretty much the gist of it. Champion points are very flexible. It might not be the best setup for this build, but it's pretty damn close to being very effective. I think that's about it. That covers pretty much the majority of the build. Again, High Elf and Breton make the best races for this build. And as people always ask, whenever I make build videos, most of the time it's the newer players that ask. They're like, Cypher, you didn't show us where you put your passives. So, guys, you're going to want to put all your passives for Assassination, Shadow, Siphoning, Dual Wield, and Resto. Dual Wield, there's certain passes that obviously don't help you at all, but Dual Wield and Resto. Light Armor. If you're using any medium or heavy, just put all the passives in except for the ones that require you to wear 5 pieces. If you have your Legendary main, put your passive in all the way. all that good stuff. Fighters Guild, you don't necessarily need Fighters Guild if you're a Magicka build nowadays. Mages Guild, if you're using any Mages Guild abilities, put them in. Undaunted, if you have it, put them in. Alliance, Assault, Support, and your Racial. And one thing that's important that some people overlook is Alchemy. Getting your Alchemy to 50 is actually very easy. There's a lot of guides online. You can do it in like 10 minutes. So getting your Alchemy to 50 is very, very easy. And all you have to do is just create potions for about 20 minutes, basic potions, and you get the passives. The reason you want to get the alchemy passives is because when you use a potion, it will last 30% longer. So your potions will last long enough for you to cover the duration of the cooldown as far as passives are concerned. You see this potion lasts for this 40 seconds. I'm pretty close to it. I'm pretty sure it used to be 45. I could be wrong. But the point is, you want that passive for your potion recovery. So guys, that's about it. Again, thank you so much for watching this Magicka Nightblade build. I will be uploading more builds throughout the week and throughout this month. I'm finally back on ESO. I took about 2.5 weeks off from the game, and I feel like it's time for me to return. I was initially going to take a much longer break, but because I felt like I was excluding a lot of my supporters, and because I actually kind of missed the game just a little bit, I decided to come back a little earlier. So thank you guys so much for tuning into this. I appreciate it. Leave comments down below if you have any questions, and check out my website. It's going to be frequently updated throughout this month and next month with new builds for all classes. So if you're wondering, when is this build coming out? When is that build coming out? They will come out as I complete them. I'm not going to rush anything. I'm just going to take my time with them and make solid builds for you guys like I've always been doing. So thank you guys so much. I appreciate the support, and I'll see you guys soon.